depending on where you're at. This is Jerry from the Rythmia Life Advancement Center in Guanacaste, Costa Rica. Rythmia is a super unique place in so much as we use ayahuasca, plant medicine, breath work, meditation, yoga, metaphysical classes. Michael Beckwith's The Answer Is You, farm-to-table organic food, all into this, the Dead Sea Cleanse, all into this amazing week that brings about this thing called a soul merger. And what's interesting about us is that we've had over 16,000 people through our doors, and 97.97 say that they had a life-changing miracle during their stay. Better than that, 6 months later, these people are surveyed, 90.22% say that not only is that miracle still working in their life, but this was the week that changed their life. And we have all kinds of people that come here. We have movie stars, we have entertainers, we have athletes, we have musicians, artists, and we have normal people just like you and I that come here. On my board of directors, I have Martin Luther King's son, Martin. We have Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer. We have Kelly Slater, the GOAT, the greatest surfer of all time. We have Earl Koski. We have Tony Ko from NYX Cosmetics. We have Ron White, the comedian. I mean, it's a crazy board of directors like that encompasses all this. Jack Canfield, the author of Chicken Soup of the Soul, 500 million copies. So we have this crazy thing. Why do all these people come here? The list of celebrities, billionaires is as long as whatever. Why do they all come here? Why? Because it is the best place in the world to have this particular kind of event with plant medicine. This is the place. It is. Yeah, so I myself, I was a high school dropout. I got super lucky and became a millionaire in my 20s, meaning I saved $1 million, had $1 million. In my 30s, I took a company public, and in my early 40s, I sold one for $91 million. Yeah, so I've been super, super, super lucky, and had a terrible breakdown in my life after the last sale of a company, and went and experienced plant medicine, had this miracle in my life, and I created this place to mimic that experience, and that's where all these tens of thousands of people have come through and had this happen to them. Now, I myself have about 338 plant medicine experiences with ayahuasca, and this little talk that we're giving, this little series today, is called Success Advice from the Mother. And now that means from the medicine, right? So a lot of us would think that hey, you know, the mother just wants us to go through life happy and joyous and all things rainbows and butterflies, and we don't have to do anything and life should be good. And that's bullshit. That's absolute, unadulterated, simply not true. Quite the opposite, actually, is what I was shown. That the truth of the truth is this, dude, that the outlook of your life, what you have to be constantly aware of is the outlook is bleak. What does that mean? Well, if you're lucky enough to live a long, healthy life, you will see everything in your life die. Dogs and cats and pets, dead. Mothers and fathers, dead. Grandparents, dead. Friends for life, dead. Like nobody gets out of this, and the further your age, the more death you're going to experience. Everything that you ever loved will be ended. Like every sport you ever played that you loved, you won't be able to do it no more. The prognosis is absolute annihilation. Everybody's going to die, and then you're going to go, if you're lucky enough, you're going to go last, and you will have your own catastrophe, the end of death, the end of life. That is the truth. Everything that you love, everything that you cherish will be gone, done, gone. So that is the truth, right? And what seems to be the thing from the medicine is that in this path, are what keeps us having this cycle of birth and death and birth and death. And if you've done enough medicine, you'll get to see all of your cycles from some point. Most of us have been alive tens of hundreds of times. But what keeps us in there is the fear of that exact thing in the search for comfort. So the fear of knowing that this is omnipresent, that I am dying. I have less days to live today than I did yesterday. That I am dying, and to be aware of it. And because when we're aware of it, we can fully evolve and fully experience life and all of its joys, but not in the search for comfort. It's actually the opposite. So as a human race, right, the more comforted we become, generally, we lower the bar on things that we consider problems. So the more comfort we bring into ourselves, right, the more problems we find everywhere. That's a fact. And it's part of the human condition. So when you make yourself uncomfortable, how? By becoming a beneficial presence on the planet, because that's hard. By giving more than you take, and that means giving everything. Most of us have this fear of death in the back of our head, so we withhold love for all things. We withhold effort for all things. And that's not how to do it, okay? The way to get the cycle, to really get the fullness out of this life, is to be very aware that all this stuff is going to be yanked from you. All these things that you love. And the only thing we can do is love as if every day is our last, and make an effort as if every day is our last to become a beneficial presence on the planet. And that effort requires more. You expend more than you receive. It's really disproportionate up front. In the end, it evens out, but it's disproportionate up front. So what does that mean? That means that if we want to click in to expansion and true fulfillment, contentment, we got to get in on the awareness and giving side. I'm aware that everything that I love, that my family, that my life will be gone, and there will be one time when I see my children for the last time, and see my mother, my dog, my father, my horse, my employees for the last time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, with a sense of duty, I'm going to become this beneficial presence on the planet, and I'm going to give everything I have to everything. Now, that's the trick. That's the whole thing. So when you're aware of that, and you're aware of your reservation because of it, see, it works both ways. So if I'm always aware that everything is finite and I'm going to lose everything, I'm going to lose the love of my life, I'm going to lose my children, I'm going to lose my parents, I'll lose my children usually through the loss of my own life. I'll lose so one day will be the last day that I see them. And so what the person with what I'm going to call as faulty thinking does is they stop expending. So they think, okay, the way to get to beat this system of birth and death is to take from everything around me. So I'm going to receive more love than I give. I'm going to tax the environment for more than I give back to it. I'm going to seek to be entitled and taken care of instead of taking care of. And that whole effort is an effort in fertility. That it never, ever, 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 ever works. It doesn't work on Earth, and it doesn't work in the astrals. It doesn't work. The only way out is to give everything. That's the only way out. And by everything, I mean everything you have in your tank. Everything. And that giving of sustenance is what creates this truth, this beauty, this strength, this growth. There is no, if you know anything about let's diet or exercise, if you know anything about it, the only way to build muscle is to tear it. It's through stress that muscle is built. The only way to shrink your stomach is to starve it. These are things are the only way to live in a house is to build it. There is no expansion without pain. Anybody who told you that there was lying to you, trying to sell you something. The truth of it is, or a political party is trying to persuade you to adopt their thinking, right? I'm saying that as a sovereign being in this planet, that there is no way to escape death, and to escape the fact that I'm going to lose everything. So instead of trying to conserve it, I want to give it away and regenerate it. And that is what another view of what becoming a beneficial presence on the planet is all about. And also, if that is in your awareness, so one of the things that we talk about here, one of the things that the mother was very harsh with me about was about my daily routine. And so I make sure that I get outside. I make sure that I walk for 45 to 50 minutes in there, depending on, and I make sure that I give gratitude for every tree, bird, anything, plant that I pass, that I am alive and aware and grateful to be on this garden of a planet and to be participating in life. And then when I see my children, I want them to feel love. And I also want to feel like I have loved, because it's in loving that you get. It's in the giving that you get. That's the whole thing. Yeah. So I want to make sure that there's a mark of that in everything that I do or try to do. And when I say try, I mean do, right? Because and so there's this whole thing in this generation, right? Of entitlement. What's in it for me? How can I get this for free? How can I receive without doing? How can I blah, blah, blah? And it does not work. It does not work, because if you take a look, we're super lucky, right? And when I say we're super lucky, think about this. Just 100 years ago, people were living about 40 years. Just 100 years ago, not 200 years ago or 400 years ago. And today we're lucky. We're born in a hospital. We have the greatest health care ever conceived. We have all of these things to assist us in our lives. We have roads and laws, and the nice thing about living now is there aren't a bunch of wild animals trying to kill us, which wasn't the case. Imagine if you were born into the time of dinosaurs and saber-toothed tigers, and you were roaming the earth as a potential snack for something. And if you broke your leg, you were dead because it made you slower and you're going to get eaten and didn't have time to heal. Imagine that. So people that say that, oh, you're entitled to all this stuff, have no idea what they're talking about, because when the first inhabitants were on this beautiful planet, they weren't entitled to anything. The law of nature took over. So in this thing of what does that mean? Well, that means that giving more than you want to take is what your agreement should be with all of creation. That I'm going to expend more and leave more than I consumed. I'm going to help more than I hurt. I'm going to love more than I hated. I'm going to try, and listen to this, there's not one of us who had children when we were younger that doesn't wish we didn't do a better job of it. Not one of us. But there's not one of us who's breathing and has a child that are breathing that cannot change in this moment. I had a thing with my sons this week, and they always tell me how proud of me they are. And I know that at the time of my divorce from their mother, I know that I immediately went out and started working on myself full time. And I invested, I guess, the last 10 years since that divorce, or 15, 12 years, whatever it is, in making myself a better person and a better father and a better this. So I can tell you that as long as you're breathing, the message of this is that as long as you're breathing, you have more time. But do not waste this. Don't waste it. Don't waste it. Don't waste the time. Don't stop loving. Don't expend. Don't hold back your effort into the business that you're working on, or to the family you're trying to build, or to the love that you're trying to give, or to the community you're trying to build, or to the spiritual center you're trying to build, or to the craft that you're trying to get great at. Do not cheapen that. Do not cut back, because the gift of this life is in the amount of effort and love we can generate. That's it. That's it. And that is the way to escape the cycle of birth and death. The search for comfort is a way to make it continue and continue and continue. So these words are real words. I was shown this by the medicine, and I do my best. I am getting older, and I'm getting a little bit lazy. I catch myself getting lazy, but I fight that, because I don't want to shrivel up and die in the process of consumption. I want to give always, no matter how that is and how hard it is, and it is hard, but it's the most beautiful part of this life. That's my message for today. God bless you. God keep you. God hold you. We'll talk to you next week. Here are my 2 books. SH_T, The Moon Says, Shit the Moon Said, and Truthonomics. One's a manifestation book. One is the story of how rythmia came to be. Please come. And I want to say something. Like I get a lot of billionaires here. And when they're done, what they normally say to me is, if this were $1 million, it would have been a great deal. So don't let the money stop you. Make it happen and come here. Have this thing happen to your life. You're breathing. You can turn everything around today. Come here now. Cheers.